Welcome back to AM Northwest. They're the unsung heroes who impact our lives in so many ways. Here to share her love letter to teachers, we welcome the author of Lessons Learned and Cherished, award-winning ABC journalist, Deborah Roberts. Good to have you with us, Deborah.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to talk about the book.
Oh, well, it's awesome. And first of all, we have to talk about who inspired you.
Oh my goodness. Well, the impetus for this book began with my conversations with people about Mrs. Dorothy Hardy, my sixth grade English teacher. And I still remember her vividly today. You know, there she is many, many years later. I got to meet her when I worked at NBC News there. I got to meet her. I got to see her and reconnect with her again. She's now passed away, but Mrs. Hardy was a force. She was a prim and proper teacher with, that white hair was trimmed just so. Her nails were always done. You see her there with her red lipstick, but she was also a tough taskmaster. She demanded, excellence in the classroom. And while many students feared her because she was so exacting, I also was intrigued by her, and I wanted to, rise to the occasion, and I wanted to please her. And the one time she actually said in that Southern drawl, "You're a real smart girl, and you did really well on that test, and you're going to do well in life." And I just will never forget that, and how it just sparked something in me. This teacher thinks that I have, potential. She thinks that I have something that's special. And it was the beginning, I think, of sort of like lighting a flame within me to want to achieve and to want to reach higher. And I thank Mrs. Hardy for that.
You also talk about watching Oprah during the time as a kid and how she talked about her teacher and the impact her teacher had on her, which says so much.
Yeah, I reached out to Oprah. I mean, I was just reaching out to anybody and everybody when I decided I wanted to write this book. And everybody just said, yes, 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 yes. Everybody wanted to do it. And I reached out to Oprah, and whom I've gotten to know a little bit over the years. And she said, "Oh my gosh, Mrs. Duncan, and everything I am and have become is because of teachers." And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And she gave us this great story about Mrs. Duncan that she had shared before on her show, but more details about her as a young person, and a very advanced little girl who could read beyond, her years at age 5 or 6. And she talked about Mrs. Duncan nurturing that flame in her. And that's what I heard so often, people talking about a spark that was sort of lit by a teacher. And sometimes it was a very tough teacher who kind of lit the spark because they maybe said a tough lesson, but it had a lifelong impact. And that's what I wanted to celebrate, that these teachers have the ability to have a lifelong impact on us.
It seems, too, that when teachers actually see a student and can really see them, that has an impact. Their touch might be different. Your husband, Al Roker, talks about his teacher, and it's kind of an interesting tale about his teacher. She kind of teased him.
Yes, and I was not thrilled about that when Al first told me about that. There's Al and our kids and Pepper the dog. So when Al started talking to me about Mrs. Pryor, and he's telling the story about how she, called him Four Eyes and teased him, and I said, "Oh, this is not nice.
Right.
This sounds like a little bullying. I don't like this story." And he said, "Yeah, but you know what? She did it in a good-natured way. She knew that I could take it. It was really more about her just having a little fun with me while also demanding excellence." And everybody knew that Mrs. Pryor demanded excellence. And his brother told a similar story, and I thought, okay, maybe she's not exactly torturing every student here. But Al had such fond memories of her, even in that way that she taught him. And I thought that still left an impact on him as well. So I decided to go ahead and include him in the book. But there were a number of different stories, and that's what I love about it. Everybody came to this differently. Spike Lee talks about a college professor who sort of challenged him to go out and make this movie. Christy Turlington Burns talks about a teacher who she met at a very pivotal time in her life. Just so many different stories. And I have to tell you, I took inspiration just hearing the stories and putting them out there.
Brooke Shields has a good story about her college teacher.
Oh my gosh, Brooke Shields, who we all just sort of think of as this I don't know, an example of perfection, this
Right.
beautiful model. She became an actress very early on in her life. We've now since learned, since she's done this documentary on her life, that she was, it was a very difficult time. But when she talks about her college professor who basically gave her permission to think, challenged her to think on her own 2 feet, because everybody just had valued Brooke for being beautiful and didn't really want her to say much of anything. And when she had a college professor who wanted to know her opinion and have her stand on her own 2 feet, it changed her life. And I thought, nobody would expect that from a Brooke Shields. And that's what I thought was so remarkable about these stories. There were so many that shed a light on the impact of educators to change our lives in ways that many times we don't expect.
Is there a single thread of all these teachers?
I think more than anything else, what I learned is that it is not that math lesson that people take with them throughout life. It is not that essay that maybe they got an A on. It is not that project that they actually, were able to do and to earn some distinction in school. It's not necessarily the academics that people take with them. It is those lessons. It's how the teacher left them feeling about themselves. It's
Yes.
the idea teachers saw them in a
Yes.
way that nobody had seen them before. That's what people take with them, how a teacher left them feeling, more so than it was how they performed on a test. And I think that is actually something we should all remember.
Absolutely incredible. We want to tell our viewers the book again is titled Lessons Learned and Cherished. Deborah Roberts, thank you so much. Great talking with you.
Oh my gosh, such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.